Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your life savings are gone. Not slowly, not over months, but in just a few days. In October 1929, the stock market collapsed in a way the world had never seen before. The event became known as the Wall Street crash of 1929, and it triggered one of the darkest economic periods in history, the Great Depression. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, and their hope. But how did it happen? The Roaring Twenties. To understand the crash, we have to go back to the 1920s. This decade in the United States was known as the Roaring Twenties. The economy was booming. Factories were producing cars, radios, and household appliances faster than ever before. Companies like Ford Motor Company were revolutionizing manufacturing, making products cheaper and more accessible. For the first time, ordinary people felt like they could become wealthy. And there was one place everyone believed the money was: the stock market. People rushed to invest in companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Stock prices kept rising, and rising, and rising. But here's the dangerous part. Many people weren't investing with their own money. They were borrowing money to buy stocks. This practice was called buying on margin. For example, someone could invest $100 in stocks using only $10 of their own money. The other $90 was borrowed. As long as stock prices went up, investors made huge profits. But if prices dropped, they could lose everything. Still, most people believed the market would rise forever. Even bankers, politicians, and economists thought the boom would never end. But in reality, the market had become a giant bubble. The day panic began, everything started to change in October 1929. On October 24, 1929, panic began. This day became known as Black Thursday. Investors suddenly began selling their stocks as fast as possible. Over 12 million shares were traded in a single day, an unimaginable number at the time. Bankers tried to calm the market by buying stocks to stop the panic. For a moment it seemed like the crisis had been avoided, but the fear had already spread. Black Monday and Black Tuesday. Just a few days later, the real disaster struck. On October 28, 1929, the market collapsed again. This day became known as Black Monday. Stocks lost huge portions of their value in hours. Then came the worst day in stock market history. October 29, 1929, Black Tuesday. On that day, more than 16 million shares were sold. Investors were desperate to escape the market, but there were almost no buyers left. Prices crashed. Fortunes disappeared overnight. Some of the richest investors in America lost everything in days. Businesses collapsed. Banks began failing. And soon, the economic disaster spread far beyond the stock market. The Great Depression begins. The crash triggered a global economic collapse known as the Great Depression. Banks had invested heavily in the stock market. When stocks collapsed, many banks ran out of money. Thousands of banks closed. People rushed to withdraw their savings, creating bank runs across the country. Businesses shut down. Factories stopped producing goods, and unemployment skyrocketed. By 1933, nearly 25% of Americans were unemployed. Millions of families lost their homes. Soup kitchens and bread lines became common sights in cities. The effects spread across the world. Countries in Europe, Asia, and Latin America also fell into economic crisis, all because of a stock market bubble that finally burst. So what can we learn from the crash of 1929? The biggest lesson is this: markets don't rise forever. When too many people invest based on hype instead of reality, a bubble forms, and bubbles eventually burst. The Wall Street crash of 1929 also changed financial regulations forever. After the crash, governments created new rules to protect investors and control banks. Many of the regulations still used in financial markets today were created because of this disaster. History reminds us that smart investing requires patience, research, and caution. If this story shocked you, wait until you hear about the biggest financial bubble in history. Tap, like if you enjoy finance history. Comment, crash, If you want more economic stories, and follow for more videos explaining the events that shaped money and the world.